just to go over a point. I don't feel like I need to address it because people are gonna believe what they want to believe about whatever. But um, the problem with the lady in the giving of the $3 grand, it wasn't about the money, right? Because one thing about me or people like me or people from my demographic, if I ain't had it, like you can't manipulate me with it. Like if I didn't have it before, you can't bring something into my life and be like, well, you got to do this and do this, or you can't have this. And you start turning around trying to take it from me. That ain't gonna work on me. I'm like, I didn't have it before, so why would I? That's something that the devil would do. And so, um, I think the hardest part in that was thinking that people, because for years people were gaslighting. Ain't nobody watching you. Ain't nobody paying attention to you. If you feel like everybody's talking to you, this and that, you're a narcissist. People trying to project narcissism onto you. Now, everybody doesn't talk about the same people. I'm sure people got their own things to talk about, but in the beginning, that was a lie, saying people weren't talking about me, because clearly it was happening. And so once I realized that and all the other things, like, that's the reason why I took the stances that I took, because it's like people, like, even if a Christian would go as far to be like, and lie and be like, yeah, we're not watching you, and if you having a certain reaction, you're a narcissist. But then it's clear I can say a whole story, and something out of that story is going to be used in something to benefit them. Now, it's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's one thing if by the Spirit everybody's being shown the same things, but when it's, like I said, it's felt almost like Game of Thrones, to where it's like people, because they're intimidated by other people, they have to try to remove them. Part of the separation of the wheat and the tares is God doing that. And so you really need to have some humility in these times. And if you're accusing other people of doing it, like I said, certain people don't even have certain thought patterns. If you're accusing other people of doing it, you're probably the one that's doing it. And so, with all that being said, man, the stuff about the money, it wasn't necessarily about the money. It was just, for years I knew people was watching me, different things like that. And then to act like that you're not. And then we don't even go through the proper process. Like, I gave the story of the Good Samaritan weeks ago. People want to use that into their benefit. It's about when you see something, you do something about it. Your words can mean a lot to people, but it says, if your brother hunger and you say, go your way and be filled, and you don't do the filling, then are you really a Christian? It's some things to think about, and people think just because I use that word Christian, well, the thing that I've learned not to do is to separate myself from the body of Christ, or self-exclude myself from the body. When I said prophetic groups, that was, number one, it was focused on one part of the body, and nor was I excluding. I just want my information, the things that I say, to be separate from what other people say, because it's clear, as I've said before, I've been gaslit about whether or not people pay attention to what I'm saying or not. People blatantly said, if you think everybody is talking about you, you're a narcissist. But at the end of the day, man, like, we all got to stand before God and, give an account of the things we said and what we done. And so the things that we find pride in, people just think because you continue to do those things that you're in right standing. Like, no, God is going to use who he will. That's the reason why I brought up the whole Billy Graham situation. You can't deny that certain people are being used for his glory. And that's the reason why I didn't want to completely disrespect Mr. Todd. Even though I wholeheartedly disagree with some of his points within that, and also his motivation, it doesn't necessarily make him, oh damn, B just flew out of there. It doesn't necessarily make him my enemy. But because I disagree with you, because I said something that's true, I'm now your enemy. If I knew some personal information about you, and I purposely skewed that information, David said that they wrest my words. If I purposely skewed some information for my benefit about your life, what am I doing? If you say, if you say something specifically about your life, but yet somebody try to sit here and make it something else or interpret it for you. Now, some of us need that interpretation. Some of us need that vetting and that explanation. All of us actually do. But you can do things with the wrong motivation. You can do things with the wrong intention. And depending on even if you talk, if you're direct with a person or not, because if you go just based off the invisible feeling, I gave a story last night about not knowing if a person was trying to poison me. If you go just based off that physical feeling, you can look silly in the end because you may have some details wrong. You may have something in your mind that you think is happening, and they may not actually be happening. And instead of just letting whatever negative is in there play out, you're trying to project what's happening, and then you could easily make yourself look more foolish in the process. So I wanted to bring up the whole $3,000 part to let people know it's not about people giving. It's not about money. And even if people did give or any of that, it would go to the right place. The fact of the matter is that lady used covert tactics. She was watching me for a while. And I know she could tell our personality that I was really nice and at times gullible. And she thought I was the one at that time, not knowing that I experienced something similar not long before that. And so I just want to say that to get on top of my story, because I'm sure there are some would try to use that story to their benefit. But I want people to understand that I think about things, I get convicted. And not to say that you don't need elders in place, you don't need clergy in place, because that would be foolish. But you need to have people around you that you can trust. If I tell you something, now that's not necessarily saying you can't turn something into a message. When you use those details and then you continue to ignore a person who is directly confronting you, like, there's an issue. Like, I'm like, okay, what do we need to talk about? Maybe if you think everybody or people is talking about you, you're just a narcissist. That's gaslighting. Especially when you can tell. Like, especially if I just said something and you're saying something similar. Like, let's just keep it a buck. Peace.